All right, we're going to call the meeting to order of June 21st. It's about 6:31. And if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could remain standing just for a minute, I know it's not on the thing, but just a moment of silence. I know we've all heard that it would be miles, and I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge what it is. Thank you. All right, so next thing first thing on our agenda here is just the warrants, and we can start down with Jeff to my right, please.
Okay, we're gonna start with the payroll warrants. So we have, we'll do these together, but I'll present them separately. So we have the payroll warrant dated June 9th of 2023 in the amount of $24,476.69. And that one looks fairly normal. The payroll warrant dated June 16th, 2023 is for $33,933.84. And that one is a bit more than we were expecting, but in that warrant is the moving expenses for the new town manager, Sean. And then we're also starting to pick up a bunch of part-time help at the Bay Park. And those monies are in that warrant. So that's why it's more. So I would make a motion that we pass these warrants.
Second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Jack seconded that. Jen?
Do you hear me, Jen?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Jonathan?
Okay, I have the general fund warrant dated June 15th, 2023 in the revised amount of $50,670.56. Nothing really earth shattering on there, pretty much basic stuff. The health insurance, that's another big ticket item. Almost 20,000 for that. So we have one revision in there. We're going to pull out the $4,000 line item for Leonine Public Affairs. They did some lobbying for us for the stormwater. That's going to be charged as stormwater. So that amount didn't include that 4,000. Do you want Brendan to include that? There you go. Put it down there. Okay. I'll make a motion. We approve that warrant as stated.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And Brendan, please.
I have an industrial park warrant, in amount of $1,249.63.
Closer to the mic, Brendan, or speak louder, please.
Sorry, Jen.
There you go.
Then we have another one, another miscellaneous invoice in there related to our communication system for the pumps. So industrial park warrant, June 21st, 2023, $1,249.63. Make a motion we approve.
Second. Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just finishing my chicken scratch amendment to the stormwater utility warrant. It's now in the amount of $20,504.76. It now includes the Leonine Public Affairs invoice for $4,000 related to our lobbying efforts in Montpelier. The other two invoices included are an invoice that totals out at $2,400, with $1,200 being charged to the utility, which is half of our GIS service fee. Both the utility and zoning office use them, so we're splitting the cost. And an EIV invoice for $15,000 and change, which is representative of their labor that they spend running the utility. So stormwater utility warrant, June 21st, 2023, $20,504.76. Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor then?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, finally, Stonehouse warrant, $4,950, June 21st, 2023. 3 charges for talent for events, bands and what have you, and then just a $50 fee to the Department of Public Safety for an assemblage permit. So make a motion we approve.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I think that's all the warrants, Brandon?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you. Next up, we have the minutes, and that would be from our, I think we only have one set, it's from our previous meeting of June 5th. Certainly entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or changes? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I think I heard 3 there. Let's see, next up, we do have public comment. Anyone here present or anyone on Zoom would like to make a public comment? Now's a good time to do it. All right, I guess we will move from there and we'll go to the town manager appointment. This is the first time I've done this, Carrie, so is that one of us making that motion?
I move we appoint Sean Atkins to position of town manager.
Effective July 1st, 2023. Any seconds? Second. All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I think it was unanimous, I believe, but congratulations, Sean. All right, well, I guess we'll turn over to Carrie then, town manager's report.
So the first item, is the fire department apparatus, proposal, background, is here. To answer some questions, you have the proposal in your packet. You'll go through, what you see is please come up, to the table. Is a summary of the officers working really hard for, almost 2 years. It's been a long time.
It's this long.
Yeah. So, here's the final product, something that's gone through a number of areas. I'll let Bob take it from here.
So. Can you hear me, Jen?
He's sleeping.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Takes her a minute to unmute, so.
Yeah, sorry, I'm typing too.
No, never mind watching TV.
I wish.
Takes a long time for the sound to
Yeah.
go over Jefferson.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So, I sent you the bare minimum, like the price and the drawings of the truck. I didn't feel that you guys needed to see the whole spec sheet or anything like that. You guys got enough stuff to do on weekends and read this. And probably some of it might not make any sense to you anyway, so, just to let you know, March of this year, when we sat down and did the final on this, the truck came in at $1,070,000. And since that date, we've added a few things, and Dan and Garth have gone and gotten every discount they could possibly get us through E1, which brought the price down to $907,000. And they had a price increase at the beginning of this week, and they managed to have E1 put that on hold, not affect us. They put us on hold in a locked position until the end of the week, the end of 2 weeks, whatever. We got a couple weeks anyways.
So it's 9:07 now. Do you know what it would be if we waited a week?
No idea.
Okay,
No idea.
Just curious.
And the reason why, we've only gone with emergency 1 is that's all we have in our station, number 1. Number 2 is the service that we get from E1 is second to none. Our downtime on any of our apparatus has been nil. If we have a problem, it's taken care of right off.
They have mechanics right here in town where they come and take care of any issues that we have with any of our vehicles, regardless of the age. So, even if we would have gotten more quotes, even if they would have been like $5,000 difference, we still would have recommended going to E1 for that reason. We have fire department.
Sorry, I was gonna ask you, is there an ongoing maintenance charge or just the, for example?
Well,
907
like this
kind of
truck,
cover-
this truck would be a year bumper to bumper coverage for
I mean, the kind of the service you mentioned? is
the
that-
service. Okay, so like if our engine that we have now, which is a 2015, well, the foam unit went on it. Then that's why our maintenance budget's so high right now. Our foam unit went on it. They came right over, diagnosed the problem,
Yep.
ordered the parts, and our foam unit was back in order within 2 weeks. So,
Okay. Thank you.
so that's one of the reasons why and plus, we can't get quotes. We can't get anybody else to come in because nobody's ever beat E1's price, Dan's or Guards.
Mhm.
So
So Bob, this has a front drive axle?
it's an all-wheel drive, rescue pumper. So it's a use vehicle, so it's gonna take and cover the hill section of the town in the wintertime and in summertime probably, and some of our camp roads that we have down on the lake shore where if it's, too deep, well, I guess we really owe it to the taxpayers in on the town to at least make an attempt and do our best to get to the buildings that they're paying taxes on, so.
Yeah, I agree, especially those hill ones. I mean, it's.
Right, this
Yeah,
truck will
imagine.
respond automatically in the wintertime to the hill sections. With the other trucks backing it up for water supply.
Does it have them chains up there?
It'll also have the drop chains on it too. It'll have a foam system on it. It'll be a 1250 pump.
You explained something to me, Rob, too, I can't remember the details, that you were combining a couple of features of this truck that will save us money in future replacement.
Yeah, so now what's gonna happen now, what I'm gonna suggest to the membership and to the next chief that comes on board is that we're at the point now where we'll have 2 working pumpers. And now we can just take our tankers and use them just for tankers. So now we don't have to buy a pump. Well, we have to buy a PTO pump, which is a little bit different, cheaper cost than putting a regular pump on a tanker. So the tankers will just be water haulers from here on in. We won't have to put ladders on them. We won't have to put pumps on them for fire suppression. We'll have 2 main pumpers to do that, along with our ladder, which is also a Quint. So we'll actually have 3 pumpers with our ladder truck. And then just tankers will just haul water. It'd be an NFPA approved. They have to have a 750 PTO pump so they can load and offload.
The 750 gallons per minute?
750 gallon per minute. And it's a PTO pump, so a lot different price than, you take a $80,000 pump versus a $20,000 or $25,000.
Otherwise it'd be what, hydraulic?
Well, it'd be inline, so it would be an inline pump versus a PTO one that sits off to the side that runs just off the PTO.
Otherwise it'd be on front of the engine.
Right. You got any questions on the truck or anything else?
I don't have a question on the truck. I'm wondering, is there anything we need to do? Because it's kind of a sole source justification, right? We aren't, for the price tag we're looking at, standard operating procedure would be to get more than 1 quote. But as a town, we don't have to, but is there anything we need to do because we're not doing that? Or do we just do it?
We have in the past,
Well, we also know, like you and I have talked,
right?
you noted, like the last time we did a truck, he actually called 2 other places.
Yeah.
Right.
After they got done kind of not quite laughing, but saying we can't touch the discount you get from E1, we just note that we
Okay.
called
I'm
other
just-
places.
I'm just I think it's fine. I don't have an issue with it at all. I'm just
I think the
know
last,
that it could be an issue
the
for
last,
somebody.
the last truck that we got 3 competitive bids on was our 2012 tanker. And then nobody else would come in here.
Right.
Because prior to that, it was the ladder truck. We had 2 companies come in because there was only 2 of them that made aluminum ladders, Pierce and E1. And Pierce came in and they were, I mean, E1 just slaughtered them as far as price went. And then the next purchase was a 2012 tanker and nobody, they came in and bid on that, just 2 of them, and the same thing happened. And then after that, it was not wasting my time.
Yeah, I run into that.
Yeah.
I just, it just should be noted.
Yeah. So it's a 3-year delivery date
Yeah, yeah.
from the time that you order
I
this,
see that.
this truck. So,
Just like we just got our plow truck in March.
Right. right.
So, are we replacing anything or trading?
Yes, we're gonna be getting rid of our 2010 4-door rescue. It's a 2010 International 4-door. It's a 4400 series. So with the price of the trucks right now, we may be able to get between 100 and 150, anywhere's in between there for that truck when we get rid of it, hopefully. So, so that's what we got figured into the reserve.
Is this the truck we're getting the same class truck or it looks?
No,
bigger?
this is a custom. This is a custom because of the turning radiuses on a custom are a lot better than any conventional cab truck. So some of these driveways that we have in the hill sections go,
Right.
and we couldn't even do it with a tanker when we had a fire up on one of the hill sections. The engine negotiated it, but it couldn't make the hill. And then we tried a tanker and the tanker couldn't even, they had the jockey. So that was another concern of ours when we decided between conventional cab and custom cab was a cramping turning radius.
Some of those places up there, they're not cul-de-sacs really, they're just like. dead
Right,
ends.
right.
Cause I recall years ago on the planning commission going up to the Bay School parking lot.
And did the turning with Peter Cross. Yeah.
Yeah, to try to get some standards
Yeah.
for cul-de-sacs.
And we have them.
Yeah. So how mu, I mean, how much we got stashed away?
I gave you a real-time report.
Yeah, it's like we have 800. Does that look right, Anna?
Yeah, 800.
Another 175 coming in next year.
That was on the table. Well, so, the voted, correctly, Bob, 175,000.
Correct.
So, once, when it goes out, I'll ask that fund.
So in the past, we put money down, paid up front and gotten discounts for it. We could put $500,000 down at this point and get a 3% discount. So at the end of, when it comes time to, so the 500,000 would end up being 526,000. With 3,200 being, a security bond, so that they would take out of it. So it'd actually be like $30,000 with that security bond taken out of it. So you end up with 26,000. At the end, that's what you get for a discount.
That's 3% off.
That's 3%. That's 3%. Yeah. So Anna, I'll let you explain, Anna. We decided that instead of paying up front, our best option is to put it in a 90-day, 9 months CD or money market or however you want to call it at 4%. So we're gonna we'll double that 26,000 at the end of the term that when it comes time to get this engine. So we're better off to put the money away like that.
So we're really, it's covered basically.
Oh, yeah, I can show you the numbers if you want.
Yeah, I had done some quick calculations. It's like about 5.2% total interest over 2 years. And if you compound it or annualize it, it's about 2.5% would be about the discount per year. So and that's just that we could have, if we did Anna's part first, we would have already covered this. But that's all right. Yeah, I agree with you too, Bob, definitely.
Yeah, so we'll probably have like 44,000 in the reserve, in that fund when the truck actually gets here. So, and by then, when the truck's delivered, we'll have 1,142,000 in that reserve fund.
Mhm.
So
No loans,
no loans.
right?
That's what our reserve fund was designed for.
So if it's for Carrie or for Bob, but what we're looking for right now is to just approve putting in the purchase.
Correct,
Is that correct?
placing the order at this point.
Yeah.
Committing for signing a
Okay.
contract. And
All right.
when it arrives, we'll pay for it.
Anyone want to make that motion?
It says no motion required. It's within the
Oh,
town manager.
You don't have to.
It's within the town manager's authority.
Just wanted to practice, John. So. Okay, no, I mean, I think we
Just let
would have
The
consensus.
town
on it,
manager
so.
do the town manager thing.
Okay. Anything else, Bob?
I don't have anything else.
No, anyone
Yeah.
else for, yeah, that's right. Come back. All right, thank you, Bob.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
So the next item, we'll ask Anna to come up front, so she can be heard.
Mhm.
And you guys can have that finance discussion.
Yep.
Um,
Anna, while you're on your way up, did you want me to read what I had written? I think I had shared with you. And I'm glad David's here. All right, we've been talking about this. So I just wanted to just report out to everybody. So on, let's see here, Thursday, June 8th, Anna and I met with Lisa Hayden and Bob Toof of People's Trust Company. We met here at the town hall. Purpose of the meeting was really just for me to understand how the town of St. Albans' various accounts are managed and for us to explore if there are other options. So here's kind of my report here. The town of St. Albans municipal government uses about a dozen different accounts, including, of course, the general fund, the stormwater utility fund, ARPA fund, lot fund, fire department fund, as we just saw. The total amount on deposit as of April 2023 was about $6.5 million that we have at People's Trust. The town of St. Albans has been a client of People's Trust Company since around the 1970s is what Barb looked back to their records today and said we were 1986 was when they computerized everything, and she recalled us being clients at least 10 or 15 years before that. In the bank, and this is from my meeting, I can tell, the bank has tailored a program specifically for our town accounts to ensure, of course, principal safety, liquidity. People's Trust Company has made it clear that they value our client relationship and has designed a customized program and services, including interest rates that are definitely competitive to the market. Most importantly, People's Trust Company has taken steps with our accounts to make sure that 100% of our account balances do have FDIC insurance coverage. They accomplish this through their membership in what's called the IntraFi network, which utilizes reciprocal deposits. Essentially, they exchange blocks of funds up to $250,000 with other banks. Okay. For example, imagine if our town had 500,000 with People's Trust Company and the city of Burlington had 500,000 with Citizens Bank. Through the IntraFi network, the two banks could actually exchange $250,000 of accounts to keep under the FDIC insurance limits. Obviously, there's hundreds and thousands of financial institutions part of it, so they can really do a lot of money all at once. Currently, most of the town's funds are in these reciprocal deposit accounts and held at various banks around the US. This allows for complete FDIC insurance coverage under the supervision of one bank. To describe our town bank accounts, imagine there are several tiers of accounts. Okay. Tier 1 funds are kind of like our checking accounts. We're not getting any interest on them. It's money ready. We can write the check and it goes out. Okay. Tier 2 are like our savings or money market accounts. Okay. We're earning some interest. And tier 3, in this case here, are certificates of deposit accounts. Okay. Tier 1 funds. Each of our town accounts has a core amount that is held at People's Trust Company, which is essentially the amount that we have in the checking account. For many accounts, this core amount is currently $32,000 and it earns little to no interest. If we write checks for more than what is in the core account, for example, 50,000, additional funds are automatically swept from our tier 2 accounts to cover it. Okay, this is similar to if you have overdraft protection on your checking account. In addition, if we deposit more than the $32,000 into an account, the extra is automatically swept into our tier 2 accounts. Okay, so Anna deposits 50,000 and there was nothing in there. 18,000 of it's automatically going to sweep over to our savings account, so to speak, and earn interest. Okay. Tier 2 funds. Amounts held at People's Trust that are greater than the core amounts are held in these savings or money market accounts that are interest bearing. As of our April 23rd statement, the blended return on all of our accounts reported interest earned of just over $9,700 for that month. Okay, so it's obviously far greater than what we saw in our past town reports because interest rates were almost nothing
The
then.
town reports a year.
Yeah, they were showing like 18 months ago.
We're receiving anywhere from 13,000 to 14,000 a month.
Yeah, and obviously our
Interest.
accounts fluctuate,
yeah.
so. And interest in these savings accounts are variable and can change daily. Tier 3 funds. So here's something that we've had available. We've been using it, but interest rates are coming up and Ann and I want to talk about maybe using even more of it here, but we do need.
I did get an interest rate today upwards of yielding 4% a year for CDs. And if you look at your packet that I gave you, there are some funds that we could certainly,
If it's all right, Ann.
sure.
That's
go
my
ahead.
next
Yeah.
paragraph. Hold up. So I was just going to mention it, but tier 3 funds, okay, these are funds that are used to purchase CDs. They normally have higher interest rates than savings or money market accounts. Tier 3 funds would typically be used for account balances that we know we don't need access for at least 3, 6, 9 months or more. Okay. The interest rates on these, of course, are fixed for the length of the CD. If we need to access the funds invested in a CD earlier than the maturity date, there's a penalty, which is usually the equivalent of a few months of interest. Okay, so however, the principal is always returned without penalty. The current interest rates for CDs from 3 to 9 to 6 months is about twice what we could earn in our tier 2 accounts. So with safety and liquidity of our town funds, that's our highest importance, but a reasonable rate of interest is also necessary. This will lead right into what Anna was saying, and then I'll let her take over here. But from our meeting, we agreed on kind of 3 general recommendations right now, and hopefully Anna's, what she has down are similar. Is to number 1, People's Trust actually agreed to eliminate a core amount. So we would lower our core amount from 32,000 down to nothing. Okay, so we'd have no money not earning any interest. This means there will be little to no funds in non-interest bearing accounts or tier 1 funds. Tier 1's kind of off the table right now. Number 2, we would move more funds into CD or these tier 3 investments using a ladder system of 3, 6, and 9 month maturity as a default, and we can do special things if we need to. This ladder system will be reviewed probably at least semi-annually with an eye on our town liquidity needs and the current interest rate yield curves and what that looks like. Then number 3, kind of target about 50% of all the money we have in the bank right now to put into CDs. Again, these 3 to 6 to 9 month ladder of CDs. So every 3 months, you have about a third of that money coming due. And then the other 50%, of course, would be in our tier 2 accounts. So about half in CDs, about half in money markets right now. Based on current interest rates, making these changes would increase the interest that Anna just mentioned by an additional 50% or so. Okay, that's where I just ended there. I'll let you take over, Anna.
That's fine. I gave you all a real-time packet of where we are right now. I plan on doing another one because our fiscal year is ending soon. And I just highlighted a few of those accounts that Brian was speaking of. The reappraisal account, which we haven't we haven't received the edict from the state to reappraise, so that money
Mhm.
is perfect for a CD. The town emergency account, we haven't touched that in a while, I don't think ever.
Right.
So that certainly could float into a CD and earn upwards of 4%.
And I just wanted to mention special now, and Ann and I talked about the emergency fund. That
Yeah.
even though we might need it at any time, still a great candidate for rolling 3, 6,
Okay,
9 month
yeah.
CDs, because if we need it, we lose the interest. That's okay. It's an emergency fund, so.
And then the federal ARPA account. That's earning upwards probably a little over, close to 3%, but if we threw that in a CD, that would earn quite a bit more.
$2 million.
Yeah, that would, I think, I did made bank statement and last month that account alone earned, 3,200 in interest. Good,
In 1 month.
but we could do better.
Yeah.
Does that all just stay in that account?
Yes, these are all individual accounts. That's why I'm gray.
Is that all, is it at all common to do like monthly transfers of interest into a particular account? We wanted to like adopt a policy that all town interest earned goes to a specific cost or cost center. We could do it accounting wise, I don't.
Suppose we could. Probably need a good, without
A lot
a
of
reason to
paperwork.
do
It
it.
is.
I mean, we could. I mean, it's,
Significant amount.
it's just all accounting, just all
It's
accounting.
all accounting, yeah.
Yeah, I looked through with Anna, she shared with me just all the statements and stuff from the banks, and it's, it's. In some ways, it's all one big account, but it's accounted for separately. So
Separately.
the interest is one block of interest. But then it's just taken for the, average amount in each account that. Weighted percent, that's where we get, where the
It
interest
stays.
goes.
It
Stays
stays with
with
it.
Yeah.
Like, I think, Chief Cross's account, that earned, well over 1,300 last month, which goes to that account, which helps him pay his equipment. That's it.
Anything else you wanted to?
No,
Have him?
I handed you all an investment policy.
Yep.
That was signed by, I could only read 2
2011.
signatures on that, yeah.
It's like a Joe
Joe
Montana,
Monte
see?
And Bill Nyhan,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
It does mimic the VLCT.
Mhm.
Take it, look at it, compare it. If we need to improve it, we can.
Yeah, I sent one out earlier to everyone, and I think this is almost identical to it,
It
right?
is, yeah.
It's- Okay.
Yeah.
And it does, go with the three things that I talked about as well, safety,
Oh,
liquidity. and
absolutely.
yield. So, yep. So, Carrie or Anna,
Sure.
what do we need right now? I know the investment policy says, to kind of make changes like this, you just need select board approval, kind of work
Authorization,
together.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I guess
A
I would ask
motion would
for,
be good
I
to
guess
touch.
ask for a motion here that we. What are you gonna say?
I'm gonna say that, do whatever you want
To
to.
transfer
Yeah.
money into CD balances.
Yes, that's what I said.
Let's start with these 3 accounts.
Yep.
I'll come back and I'll let you know in a month or 2.
That-
What
Can you tell us the 3 accounts again? We were gonna do ARPA,
ARPA,
emergency fund,
definitely,
and the fire
reappraisal fund,
reappraisal.
because I don't foresee
Okay.
us even using that for
Mhm.
at least 3 years.
What about the fire department one? Just
The
based
fire
on
department is
our
cheaper.
conversation we just had.
Yes.
Yep.
He's
How do
back
you
there.
feel about that?
How do I fill it up?
Wait, No.
No.
And I would say,
No, just.
I would say, like with the fire department one, I would say, I would suggest we don't have to do the whole thing, but if we,
No.
like, we have 500,000 here, let's get it earning interest, right?
Yeah,
We're not gonna, and again, if we have
I mean,
to
he's
touch it,
right.
we just lose the
We
interest.
shouldn't have
We're-
to touch it.
Yeah.
That's
Yep,
right.
that's right.
we're
for years.
earning good interest, but we could do better. So on the fire department, 500,000, okay.
Okay, so the motion again is to invest account balances for the ARPA fund, the emergency fund, the reappraisal fund. And at this point, 500,000 or so of the fire department reserve fund. And we'll look at others later. And again, we're gonna try to target a 3, a 6, and a 9-month ladder, correct?
Right, I'll go 9
Right,
months
okay.
on these, because I really feel
Sure,
safe in
yeah.
telling you that we won't be needing this money for 9 months.
Okay. So I think that's the motion on the floor. Yep. Any?
I'll second that. 'cause I actually
What's the
understand.
penalty?
The penalty, when we spoke with People's Trust, they said it's generally they withhold, they said 1 to 2 months of interest, but they said you guys have been clients a long time. Well, we would cut you a deal kind of thing, is what they said, or we could.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 months of interest or so.
I have a question, Brian. When you say we zero out our tier one and put everything in tier two,
It's not really zero.
is that all, is that all just under the hood?
Right, it's not really zero. I can
So the
see it.
checkbooks all kind of look the same, it's just where the money's going.
It's
under-
kind of like they're in what I do with work, there's sometimes accounts that are money market accounts that have check writing privileges. That's not normal you don't normally have that at a bank, right? You have a checking account that may earn nothing. Or maybe earn a little bit of something. And then you'd have savings accounts, right? That would earn something more because they don't think you're going to be using that money. People's Trust is, they're allowing us to kind of like just write checks on our savings account, so to speak.
But
Yeah,
then like if you went
Sure.
in and cashed a $10,000 check. And I'm looking at the computer, I can see that $10,000 check that you cashed. Then at the end of the day, every single day. Money gets swept from the
Tier 2 type.
account back into the core account. So the tier 2 accounts actually generate more interest.
Right,
So.
well, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
I just-
yeah.
It's zeroed out, it's a lot easier.
What's that?
It's zeroed out, it's a lot easier, at least. in our
Yeah,
audit.
yeah, a lot
That's
easier to
what
balance.
balance.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
old
you saw
Ted
my bank
Clampett say,
statements.
millions.
So this is gonna, we get how much a month now and it's gonna go up by 50%? What was the number that this-
If we do, if
Could-
we roll it.
Could be
into
15 or
CDs,
more.
Yeah,
50,000
it will
or
go
more.
from like, from almost 2 to 4%.
Yeah,
yield.
and just to stress, right?
Yeah.
Interest rates change almost every day.
I know.
Right, so just one of those like,
But the
just keep that in mind,
CDs,
that's all.
the CDs are nice.
They're
because
locked.
You're locked in.
My bad.
Well,
That wasn't me.
It didn't really matter when they were at zero.
yeah,
No, that's the thing, and again, that was just about a year ago. Right. And really still.
They started going up, yeah.
Zero, so.
and within the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks, CD rates have steadily come up.
And just, even without the CDs, just to mention too, I mean. Even before doing this, the vast majority of all the money were in tier 2 accounts earning.
Right,
Earning interest, like we said, the April one I saw,
yes,
I counted up 9,700 and you said our most recent May one was
13,000.
13, so
little over
it's-
13,000.
yeah. So we have a motion. I think we just need a second.
I second.
Oh, you did second. Any other questions or discussion?
I got a discussion.
Yep.
So does that follow this investment policy?
It does.
It does.
It does.
So
So,
right to a T, so,
well,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
so my next question is, how come we haven't done this before?
I think the answer, well, I'll let Ann
Done what
answer, but
before?
Like invested certain funds in the CD?
Mhm.
Well, the CD rates were so low, they've just now started to, like,
They
within the
weren't zero.
last 2 weeks,
Mhm.
3 weeks started to rise.
They weren't zero, they've been high for a while now, and then. The question, I mean, Mr. Bray asked that question, what, 6 months ago maybe, and we couldn't give him an answer, and now we're finding out that they're holding the bag on $4,000 to $5,000 a month, 60,000 a year. Is about 6/10 of a penny on their tax rate.
That wasn't
I'm
the case,
equally,
Brendan.
I'm equally parts happy that this is happening and a little disappointed that it happened sooner, but that's not a criticism to anybody, and just let's get it done.
These sweep accounts have been in place for the last 3 years.
Right.
The CD rates are the ones that now we should be paying attention to.
Yeah, and we did, you did have.
We did
CDs.
have CDs.
We just
Yeah,
didn't have,
They just weren't,
we just didn't target 50%.
Yeah.
No.
That's what we had talked about, but, yeah. And this document does have, Jonathan, it does list other types of investments that are allowed. US Treasury obligations, a lot of other types of investments like that. Without going into great, CD, I think is locks in with the safety part. It's got FDIC insurance. We're not gonna lose our money as long as the US government's around. Gives us that liquidity. We can sell it. We don't, or, we could basically sell it back or turn it back in, lose a few months of interest. We don't have to worry about the market value of CDs in this system, whereas you might at a brokerage firm or something. And we're getting obviously a much higher yield. So those are the three objectives with it. The really the only difference between, besides the yield part, the safety is the same. We're not taking any more risk by using the CDs. The only thing that's different is technically our liquidity is a little bit different. If we call a CD in early, we lose some of our yield, we lose some of the interest, but that's it.
So does the new investment policy have any provisions that, I haven't had a chance to read it, we just read it.
No, the new one.
Does it have any,
this was it.
does it have any provisions that mandate that there's quarterly meeting and reporting from the town, where there's the treasurer or CFO, and whichever
Yeah,
bank or institution that holds a deposit, and that the select board gets that report? This just seems to have been a breakdown.
yeah, that's not in here, so that would probably.
There's very
could have
real
been.
money, like,
There is real money.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that in my thing that, even semi-annual meetings.
There is a statute, money received by the town treasurer on behalf of the town may be invested and reinvested by the treasurer with the approval of the legislative body. So that's the statute that I have followed. Now, you've got to keep in mind too, these accounts billed every year, like the reappraisal account, that's billed. We get $70,000 a year from the state. It was less obviously last year, it was less the year before. The town emergency account, we've not put any money in there for a number of years. The fire department, the voters voted to put $175,000 in there every single year, so that's been building. And of course, the ARPA money.
Any questions or? Comments? Brendan, all set?
yeah, I'm good.
Good. John? All right, so the motion, we heard the motion on the floor, so to do those three accounts and then or about 500,000
yeah.
at the fire department one, in 9-month CDs, and then, we'll leave it at that. We can come back to the, setting up kind of regular meetings or regular report. If you
Yeah.
want to do that afterwards.
We
Okay.
need to talk about this more.
Yep. All right. So motion, Sean?
I assume these things is set up. And some accounts for the city of revenue. We had the exact same setup and we got. Not monthly, at least quarterly, towards that.
Yeah, we need to see where the money is, what it's doing. I think if we had that a year ago, there would be more money in all of our accounts, and that's just.
The rates weren't the same a year ago, Brendan.
It doesn't matter. I mean, we're talking, we still left money on the table because we weren't talking about it. And we learned our lesson. So we just have to implement the controls and keep it from happening. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. Yep. I think you're both, Rachel,
I'm not,
a year ago.
saying it. I'm not trying
Yep,
to.
if we'd have been doing it, maybe we would have seen it.
All the question.
All right. Sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and we're on to. Back to Karen.
Oh, no.
It's all over, not getting reported.
So while she's doing that, to follow up
Yep.
on this, do you want to discuss revising the finance policy?
Yeah, I think, yeah, let's
At
maybe
another
do that
meeting?
next time, Brendan. That work
Yeah,
for you
I'll do-
guys? Maybe on the next one. I mean, at least amending
I have these.
a time frame on periodic reporting.
Should be cool.
Yeah, quarterly makes sense.
So we'll
Okay.
revise it going forward. It's perfect. The next item, it's under town manager, just because I didn't think you'd actually need a motion for this, but it was discussed casually to maybe have to start doing a lending library. You have a very official picture of just a random sample of what a lending library is.
Is that ours?
No, it's just one we found on the internet.
Oh,
But that's what we were talking about, something as low tech and low key as you know, a somewhat weather protected place where people could leave books and take books. And I don't know where you. had-
No, like I said,
thought
I
you
just
wanted to-
heard from, actually, it wasn't even a resident from St. Albans Town, but a resident of St. Albans City who's been kind of building these and putting them up different places and thought, Bay Park would be a cool place. And I've learned over the years as people have asked me stuff about doing things at Bay Park, that it's not that simple. There's some permits involved. So anyway, I mean, it's on here. I don't know if the Bay Park is the best place to have one in the
Could have
town,
one
if
in
we want to have
Washington.
one.
Right on the edge of the Bay Park, just not quite in it.
Put it in the water. That's,
Put it in,
Oh,
That's what I was
go in the
thinking.
water, you gotta have a permit.
put it in the state right away.
Don't you have a levy line already that we fund every year?
well, I mean, there's the one up, if you're talking about the main library, sure, yeah. Do you know what we're talking about, Paul? Have you seen a picture of them? So, I don't know how, if this is, it's kind of zoomed in a little bit. So the idea with them, Paul, is that, people kind of volunteer to build these. They make them as weatherproof as possible. A lot of people have them on their front yards. People will put them in the front of public buildings. And the idea is there's some old books in there.
Good way to get rid of the piles on the floor.
There you go. Someone fills them. And the idea is you can take one that you don't have to check it out. Obviously, you just take it, return it when you're done, or put another one in.
They
It's,
get it. First
that's
one
all.
should be a big one. I got like 200 issues of National Geographic. I need to get rid of.
It's- They're all on DVDs now, right? Or CDs. Yeah, I mean, this is, the discussion, again, it doesn't have to be at the Bay Park. Certainly, I don't think the town would have to expend any money for it. Volunteer wanted to build it and put it up, maybe just the time for permitting and stuff, maybe to put it in, I don't know. I'm sorry?
How does it follow the park policy before we get on the slippery slope of allowing private people to build amenities in the park?
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's my only question.
Yep,
You
I have
got
no
15
idea.
People with no ideas to your next meeting.
Why don't we have
Mhm.
Public Works build it? We
You
can have more.
have
than
it
one, right?
donated.
You could have more than one. You could put one up as, on.
I mean, we have it in our peers.
Could.
We already do that.
Yeah.
That's my only point.
Wow.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, if this is, it's meant where if it's more of
I think I'd rather
hassle or
have-
there's better places, then that's fine. I'm certainly not advocating for it, but just, heard what could be a good idea and brought it to the board, so.
Put it to, plan. And then put it to get something in your plan or something in your bylaws. Put it to the DRP and then individually. And put up their own library. Town, you guys got all poked out of the pictures on the wall.
Well, what
Now,
kind?
now, if you become the. Office, but the libraries. Somebody put something in there, that somebody else finds stuff in it offensive.
Oh, you can't be heard if you're not in a microphone. Sorry.
Oh,
Paul, we'll give you a minute here. Come on up and speak in the mic.
You know the rules.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen.
I saw you walking. You weren't walking like that earlier today.
No, you saw me this morning, maybe. You see me this morning?
Yeah.
4:35,
Early.
early, somebody went by early, waves, I don't know, I figure, I always think it's Paul, but. I don't know, anyways. Ian brought up a good point, if, somebody puts something out that's really offensive. Sometimes it's not offensive, 9 people aren't offended,
That's right.
5 people are. And that becomes an issue. My suggestion would be, it's a good idea. That's first thing. It makes sense. Let the individuals do it. To do that, go through the planning process, get a bylaw, put it into your development or come in for a permit. I want to put this thing in front of my house. And it just, you can permit it. That now becomes the property and the responsibility of the person who puts it up. And unless they put
neon signs, which isn't gonna happen. I don't see that even happening.
What's the difference if you just stick some old tires on your lawn and say free?
No different. Well, truthfully, you want me to be really rude about this thing? In this town, the only time the town ever does anything about like that is when, at least this is the way it was with another administrator. The neighbor has to complain. Instead of the towns defending the citizens who vote for these bylaws, action was not taken until, let's say I didn't like something my neighbor was doing. Something my neighbor was doing was against the law, bylaws. I'd be the one bringing the charges, not the town. The town of St. Albans, the people we elect, are challenged or charged with enforcing the rules that we vote for, that we pass, not the individual charging. If somebody comes to you and says there's a mess on somebody's property, if somebody's doing something I don't like, there's gotta be a town officer responsible for that. And the person who brought the charge is not, or brought the attention to the town, is not the person who should be enforcing it, nor should they even be involved. That's the town's law. That's the town's bylaw. So if we authorize somebody to put something up, that's fine. What's in it? They don't like it, they can leave it there. I mean, it's a free world. But the town doesn't get picked up with the idea of promoting something that might not be the best. And again, it's like the art thing. That to me was sublime to ridiculous. It was a nice idea, but why not just put pictures up of the town? Why worry about the other types of art? Why run an art gallery in the town hall? I know it's what the world's good, but that's. You can,
If it sounds to me all this complication, the hell,
That's,
you know,
that's it, yeah.
why bother?
it's a good idea.
Well, and again, a lot of folks have them just up on, like I said, their front lawn. Maybe that's at this point, the best place, best.
In this
place.
day and age, you can't have fun anymore. Right?
We had different idea of fun when we
Yeah.
were younger.
Yeah, can't have fun anymore.
All right, well, unless someone wants to continue discussing it, we'll leave that on the table for now. Let's shut
Yeah,
that
yeah,
down.
that was-
Carrie, I think we've got one more item
We
on
sure do.
your agenda here.
Yes, so the last item
Mhm.
is surrounding stormwater. What you have in front of you is largely a very similar budget to the budget
Mhm.
Dave and I talked with you about 2 weeks ago. We did revise the revenues, although I'll say that there's a caveat, we don't really know how much to reduce the revenue stream for the ag exemption, so we went on the conservative side, meaning we used the larger number, even though the state hasn't really defined what
Mhm.
they were exempting. So we went on the conservative side with that revenue stream. Everything else in that budget stayed the same.
Okay.
The-
Did we, I just want to ask, going through, the many department reports, which are great, Dave had seemed like a line in there about a $200,000 grant for the stormwater. Is that something that he's applying for, or it almost seemed like we may have gotten that?
We
not-
did get a grant for Clyde Allen Drive, right?
Okay, and so that's what that was referencing.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, Emily was applying for a number of grants all the time, not just the one from the state because we have a utility, but others, so.
Mhm.
We didn't get some, but like thankfully some stuck.
Okay. Okay. Another question, we're under the, I believe there's gonna be properties are now exempted from paying, this fee, correct?
Ag properties
From the,
and,
yeah, the stormwater, paying into the stormwater utility.
and
right?
some of the properties that didn't have any impervious on them.
Mhm. And that is gonna be about how much?
She had already reduced last year. Emily had reduced them. I think that's part of what made up on the spreadsheet. She says -2%. She was reducing some of those properties that she removed. Because the first year, all properties were in there, including those without like a field, undeveloped field.
Okay. I guess my ultimate question here is, since we now have properties that aren't gonna be, won't be paying in,
Yes,
will we be able to keep the ERU for one household not raise it above $50? That was my question with this budget. I couldn't tell.
With this budget, we're proposing to keep the ERU at $50. That might have to be analyzed for the next year, fiscal year, but because last year was both a building year and the first full year we didn't spend any money, as we discussed at the last meeting at length, for construction. So there's a decent amount of carryover from the current year we're in, FY 23 to 24.
Okay.
So even, that's what Dave and I discussed at length, actually, on every line, like, we have some money left over on that. We're not going to put more money in the future budget. We'll just zero it out in some cases and use the money that was collected last year for that purpose. Like, I think street sweeping was an example of that. We're not gonna collect another 6,000 or 7,000. We'll just use the money that we've accumulated already. So combined with some of the money we already have, we're gonna use that first, just like you would your own private home budget, right? Before you look for additional revenues. FY 24 should be pretty safe. But building FY 25, you're gonna have to look at that.
Okay.
Like, what are the real revenue losses and what should the new ERU be? What's the equivalent unit is what we basically call that.
Okay.
I try not to use acronyms because stormwater is full of them and
Yes.
they're not really intuitive.
I've finally found out what MS4 stands for. Been talking about MS4 for
Mhm.
so long, going through all the other documents. And I think right now we're specifically just talking about the stormwater budget.
We are.
Right? Any other questions for Carrie or Sean on the
Remember
budget?
we talked about getting, Julie.
We talked about it. I did send her an email. She responded fairly quickly saying that she's not sure. First, I was pretty vague because I didn't know if she would be interested at all. And she said she would come up, but thought someone else would be more appropriate. And she suggested Emily Shelley, I think her name is. And she sent me, and she's a stormwater specialist actually within that department. She said she'd be willing to come up. I wanted to talk to you guys tonight to find out what you're thinking and what we wanted to get from that conversation, but we can schedule something in July for sure.
Who are we talking about?
Getting someone from DC or from the state who specializes in stormwater to give us more background and try to answer some of the more detailed questions on stormwater.
That's who this Julie person is.
Well, Julie's the head, you know,
Julie Moore is the secretary of ANA,
right?
appointed by,
But she used to do a lot of the stuff with the water quality in the bay.
she's an engineer. That's what her trade was. So my question, I mean, I haven't been shy about this, but this isn't equitable. This whole thing is not equitable because people are now not going to be paying in. That means other people are going to be having to pay in more eventually. And also, people paying in aren't receiving any of the services. And so, like, to me, my personal view of this, which is that the state is mandating this, like the state MS4 funding is dashed lines. That should be like 3/4 of the budget in this thing. It's they're the ones pushing this down onto everybody. And so then the town is being forced to go out and get money to do this thing that the state wants done, when it only applies to a very, very select few properties in the town, as far as I can tell. I looked at so if we just, so maybe someone can help me. If you look at the purpose of the utility, there's four things that the utility is supposed to do.
Yeah, I was gonna, Jeff,
Yeah.
just for a second. If it's all right with folks, should we, so I'm sorry, because this part was listed first about the budget. Should we
I'm talking
table that for a moment and we'll go to number 2, which is
The ordinance.
which is the rest of the ordinance and the
But,
which,
well, I think you're asking for us to approve the budget.
I am asking you to.
Yeah,
approve
I'm
the
just-
budget.
And I'm trying to offer.
yeah, all I'm questioning is, should we should we just move?
I'm not
to
talking
the-
about the ordinance right now. I'm talking about how we arrive at the
Mhm.
budget that we're at. Like,
Gotcha, okay.
that's, so.
Yep.
When you look at what the money is supposed to be used
Mhm.
for.
That's why I stopped it, just because that's the front
But,
part. Go ahead.
but we're floating the idea of spending almost $500,000 on Tanglewood.
Mhm.
I need someone to show me which one of these four purposes of this money does that apply to?
Well, I'm
Because
gonna- Yeah, because I wrote
that-
down the same question, because there's a lot of, we got the stormwater ordinance, we got the
Right,
stream and the Stevens and then the phosphorus. And I was trying to figure that out too, Jeff. That was my question.
so if you want to do that in a different place, that's fine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe
That's
we,
fine.
let's, when we talk about this and we'll come back to the budget, make sure it makes sense, because, yeah, and again, maybe Carrie can answer it. But one question I had with, was it municipal cost sharing? I got it down here. That almost looks like the stormwater utility would pay. It seems like they don't pay, they shouldn't be paying anything for construction. It seemed like it was repair, maintenance. But construction, it seemed like was on each individual neighborhood, for example, or each project.
Right.
Yep.
So Al and I think Al was in the room somewhere.
Yeah,
We were
he's-
both appointed to the planning commission in 2016.
Yeah.
The chair of the select board was Stan Dukas, and we've been working on coming up with a version of this ordinance since then and before then. I think we landed at the right funding mechanism in the utility. I think the ordinance, the way it's set up, has merit in certain respects, but it's unclear in others.
Mhm.
I think that we've had a lot of conversations about the state's obligation to fund its share of the work that needs to be done to meet our phosphorus mitigation and flow restoration goals.
Mhm.
That have been handed down to us by the state, essentially on behalf of the EPA. We've said things like half of these projects need to be funded with state money, but we've never codified. We've got a budget that shows a macro amount of stormwater fees collected, but it doesn't break out to Jeff's point. The fact that the state of Vermont's paying, what, 60 something, maybe 70 something $1,000 per year for it. 63. Yeah.
Put up that new X-115, doesn't go away.
I think we need a policy within the utility that governs how we fund certain projects, and I think it needs to have a leeway. That when the state comes in and funds 80% of the project, that counts and can get banked towards other projects that we may fund over 50% of. And at the end of the day, the amounts that come in and out, half of them are from the state, that should be our target. So we can get this work done without pinching percentages. I think that policy also needs to have a clear definition of what we expect from homeowners associations in terms of cost sharing. And I think we need to have a robust conversation about stormwater systems and private roads as they relate to either direct loans from the town, creating an enterprise fund that we use for revolving loans that we reclaim interest on and make further investments within the community, i.e. act as a bank for the taxpayers to fix these issues themselves and deliver a funding mechanism that allows private people to fix private problems. We have a lot of issues in this town that none of us in this room had any hand in creating, but we're all gonna have to pay to fix unless we use another funding mechanism like a special assessment where we finance in a certain district, a certain infrastructure, whether it be a water and sewer expansion, stormwater restoration project, a road upgrade, and that the people that benefit from that first pay an extra bit on their tax rate to pay the town back. Now, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a CFO. I don't know how to define these terms correctly and how to synthesize them into a document that makes sense for the town. But there are too many wishy-washy terms, especially related to how we're funding stormwater, because it's so new and it hasn't been defined and we haven't built 10 of these projects yet. I'd rather we sit down, put our thoughts together, create a document that reflects what we think is fair to everyone and adopt it and not learn hard lessons the next 5 years as we go about doing this work. I also think that we need to be able to point to a policy in every grant application we write that says half of our overall stormwater funding by order of our select board or stormwater utility commission has to be derived from state or federal grant funding. Or total funding, count the $63,000 a year they send and the $25,000 a year we get just for having a utility. That 25,000 end in FY 26, but it's on the books for now. We need to give our citizens a clear picture. We need to expect more from HOAs, but create the funding opportunities for them to actually be able to finance these projects. And we need to do it in a way that's transparent and fair to everybody. We're not there yet. Jeff's frustrations are a symptom of the fact that we're not there yet. I think the only solution is to just create more policies that put everything in black and white. If you have, and I think it needs to go in the form of a private road program, which is separate from this discussion too. If you have a road that needs $150,000 worth of work to be accepted by the town, and you're paying $5,000 a year to plow it, well, maybe the town can come in and loan you that money for a 10 or 15-year period, pick up the maintenance of that road on day one, and then you can in turn take those cost savings of not having to pay a private contractor to maintain your road and return it to the town in the form of a special interest or loan repayment that we could charge a minimal amount, but meaningful amount of interest on, because like Anna said, these interest rates on all these accounts can go down someday, and we'll have to get creative again to make our 15,000 a month that we're gonna start to depend on as it becomes more common.
The whole thing came about, I mean, our discussions last was the fact that we were talking about fixing Tanglewood. We applied for a state grant and got turned down. So, I mean, that brings up the whole question, why do we throw all the stormwater money in Tanglewood? Wait till we get a state, wait till the state chips in. And then, you know, as we've been talking, we don't have to do this, what's the date?
36?
2036. I mean, what rules will we have by then? That might negate all this stuff.
I mean, I'm fine with creating a policy that says for all the projects we do in a several year period, at the end, they have to have an average of 50-50. And town HOA money being 50%, and then state and federal money being the other. And I'm okay with that 50% counting the $25,000 a year we receive. In fact, any amount of it that we haven't spent yet. And I'm okay with it including the $63,000 a year and any amount back that we haven't spent yet. And I'm okay if somebody can show me on paper, we're taking all this income that we've already received from the state instead of a grant, and we're putting it in Tanglewood, and that's our 50%. But somebody's got to do that math and make me feel comfortable knowing that the state is an equal partner in our investment. And if they're not going to be, then I would encourage people on Meadowbrook to invite state office holders and employees down after or during a significant rain event and show them how their property rights are adversely affected by a failed system that the state permitted and never regulated. I mean, at some point, we're either partners or we're not, but we need a document that codifies that so that these concerns stop and we can focus on getting these things done.
We're gonna learn a lot more next week. The state has here
Yep.
appeared to be willing to grant for MS4. So we've got a project we choose to do. We have to send a letter. It's next week live.
And those- Yeah, I was just gonna say along the lines of what Brendan had, I mean, I was surprised, right, in the, like, Stevens Brook flow restoration plan, it's got, you know, city of St. Albans, town of St. Albans. The city one says it right in there. They're 50-50, like there's a number, that's what I was searching for, that's what I was mentioning, Jeff, in here. It's very difficult for a non-lawyer like me to read, what does the town pay for? What I read it to be is that in terms of construction phase, it looks like we only pay pro rata what's public land, in that case, the paved roads. Otherwise, it looks like the HOA or the neighborhood would pay 100% of construction costs. That's what I read it to be. And then the town, if takes it over under its MS4 permit, would then be in, for 20 years at least, be in charge of maintaining, repairing and upgrading. And upgrading has some special, you know, GH, I mean, this goes on and on with things. So that's, that was the same question I had.
The policy, or is it just the,
I'm sorry?
just that, like a policy, or is it just like a?
You're talking about the one I was referencing? I don't know. I mean, it's, yeah, it must be accepted plan, Stevens Brook Flow Restoration Plan. I just,
think it was adopted.
I think it's almost like it's like a report kind of summarizing.
It's mandated planning as part of our MS4. I would say in the perfect world, stormwater utility would cooperate with public works. Each department would be able to provide estimates or work with homeowners associations, the degraded roads or stormwater systems or both, to say, this is what it's gonna cost to get it to spec, roughly. And if they wanna move forward, we need to have a funding mechanism available. It's 10% liquid down. We'll finance the balance over 15 years. Maybe we should take our $2 million in our one-time federal money and stick it in a bank account and loan it to people to fix these problems. And then charge them. I mean, we have a low tax rate even at 50 cents. It's up from 35. But we've got to come up with a funding mechanism.
Something that's.
Do you have a
fair.
question or a comment real quick?
Yeah, you mentioned Tanglewood. The town shouldn't have put a nickel of taxpayers' money into Tanglewood. We've tried. 15, 20, no, hell, 20, 25 years.
Long time.
They would not let us in. There is a resident there. That problem with the water should have been fixed 25 years ago. And it's been known, but we were blocked from getting to the detention pond.
Couldn't get in across. the
Couldn't get into property.
No right away.
Eventually, when I was here then, we stopped plowing them. Because all of a sudden it occurred, that's not even a town road. And we called them, we have liability. That's their responsibility to fix that road. The planning commission had the plans, the DRB reviewed all these things. Anybody, any new development, especially that's is not up to par, it's their responsibility. Any roads, like the Tanglewood highways in there that are not up to par, that's their responsibility. Even the one across the highway that was given away, that's their responsibility. And, you know, as time goes on, it's almost like the guy that screwed it up in the first place, kind of got away with it, he's gone. And now all these people have bought it and thought they were buying a nice little neighborhood, they're stuck, but that's called due diligence.
What amazes me, Paul, is that all these, how many homes are in there?
Mhm.
40 odd. 40 lawyers, look at those.
No, those aren't lawyers there, are they?
No, but when they
Oh.
bought them.
They
Oh,
bought the house.
yeah.
When they bought you know, you
they
had
did
your
touch
title
searches
search.
and all
We
that.
Oh, yes, yeah.
The
well, we knew
interstate
how that
has the
goes.
rights to dump 3 culverts worth of water in the
Yeah,
backyard.
you see that all the time. It's just. Due diligence is important and people don't sometimes get second opinions or have other people look over other people's work before they spend their money. But the thing is, when you talk about Tanglewood, you're right about finding a way to fund it. We can loan them the money. I don't think they'll let us in then. I don't think they'll go for it. That's their
That's changed,
responsibility.
though, right? That's changed the.
Yeah, there is easements now, but there wasn't for a
It
long
wasn't
time.
for
Yeah,
many
well, I'm sure there's been change. I haven't been back here for 10 years or 12 years, but it's,
Well, if you go back, there wasn't a DRB, there was a planning commission and zoning. what
that's
we
right.
had.
Yeah, the zoning
And,
board of adjustment or whatever.
I'm guilty because we were all pretty new at development.
Yeah.
And we got snookered bad quite a few times.
Yeah, but that's not, it's still, it's theirs
Right,
and they know it.
because if, you know,
We-
my
we knew-
septic system goes to hell.
Yeah.
I gotta call the guy to fix it. I don't come down here and say, hey, can you fix my septic? system?"
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I remember the day because I was there with you a little bit for a while, way back. That is a long time ago.
So if I could just follow up with.
Mhm.
About that. So that's a private. HOA, right? Or was, or is.
Supposed to be.
So, and then, so the town's in discussion about possibly fixing it. And I just, with the money that we think, that we've collected, and it talks about the purpose of the ordinance, and I'm trying to figure out what under those 4 points that are listed, does that fall under? Like,
I don't think Brian hit it right on the head. It's their responsibility. You had a suggestion for financing it. Town can help people out,
right,
but you've got to have paper to back it up. You got to have the bylaw or the state permission or whatever.
My point would be, the state we should have a funding mechanism defining the HOA's portion of whatever the expenditure. We should also, in that policy that defines whatever their cost center, your cost sharing obligation is, define the tenants. And then we should define the state. And we need to figure out how we account for all of that within our books.
That I can see that for a situation like where I am. House has been there for almost 200 years. Houses around me have been there. The street's been cut. Brook runs through there. There's problems there. That's something where this has gone on forever. This problem that you mentioned by name has been created.
So you can name them, there's like 50 of them.
they're listed,
But they're not,
they're in the plan.
why? But this is the only one that's balked and didn't comply.
15 years.
Chair, I got a point of order. We need to move this.
Yeah.
along. We're talking about the wrong.
You got.
We can talk about it later, but right now we're talking about a budget of 2024. Let's just keep it on the range. That's, we can, but we're just kind of,
Don't give
I think
it.
I make a motion, we approve it as presented with the understanding that.
there's the motion in the second one before.
Already? All right. that's fine.
There's the motion, right? Is there a motion in a second?
No, not
Oh, am I thinking?
We
of
kinda-
that?
You're thinking of the fire truck.
I'm saying it's a planning document, a budget's a planning document that can be amended in the future, and we need to get this out.
So, yeah, we can go back and do just the stormwater budget.
That's, I make a
Come
motion to
back.
approve.
Yeah.
We'll come back to it later.
Is it right about the stormwater budget? We're only gonna do this, just passing the stormwater budget,
Stormwater budget.
just the budget?
This is about.
Okay, one quick thing about the budget.
So. I was here in January and I asked to have a larger print, right? And we do have a larger print, thank you. But my problem is when I look at. If you look at the town report, 2021, page 38. And they all have codes, 39-6-0600. That's the code for the fees under stormwater. So the town report in fiscal year said we were going to generate $557,250. And that was with 11,145 ERUs. So it also in that town report showed fiscal year 2023 at 565,600 with an increase in ERUs of 13,312. So now I look at the town report for 2022, page 38 again, and by God, the number changed. They increased the number for the year that's already gone by. And they increased the ERUs. Then they had for fiscal year 23, $557,037.50 with a change in ERUs. It went down $11,140. So today I went to the town clerk's office and I said, what did we take in under that line code? We took in $501,522.80, which is different than both what we receiving in the town report. This don't make sense to me. Somebody is not doing their homework. The same thing with fiscal year 23. I know it's not over. There's another 8 days left. But right now we're sitting at $552,359.45. So And we don't know, we're not reporting right. It's kind of frustrating for people out there to look at this and say, what do we spend? If I look at this year, we're going to spend. This year, we're planning on 2024, 569,000 with an increase of ERUs over the last year. And that's fine. But I don't know what we're going to generate. I don't have a clue. And maybe somebody can help me here. When I left, we were doing 50% grant funds, 25% homeowners association, and 25% town. Evidently, that's changed.
Well, that's one of those terms that said have been brought up but never codified in the policy. I think it should be 50% state, and I think it can be. The remaining 50% can be split between the HOA and the town. We can debate that point, but it needs to be adopted in a policy and followed as a matter of fact and not left to chance.
Most of the plans that the previous stormwater person did it with 50%, 35 and 25 different. It was only a 10% change in the homeowners association. And I believe we had like $2.6 million we've got to do just on those 4 projects. Those Tanglewood, Ricebrook, Clyde Allen, and Hill Farm Estates. That's 2.6 million. I don't know how much we can afford. The industrial park, we still got 275,000 to spend there. After we done it once, we done it wrong, I believe. So we got to go back and spend 275,000.
We did that wrong.
Yeah, we're going back.
What happened?
We didn't, it was built according to plan, but Emily discovered that the plan wasn't working well.
Who permitted that? Who designed it?
I don't remember right now who designed it, but she did find out afterwards that it was installed per plan. Well, it was installed after they came back per plan, but then Emily said it wasn't working accurately. Wasn't working.
That's gonna be.
Why is that?
People carry errors in efficient for insurance. I think we should do a ticket or something.
Please, when we write a report, let's have it accurate. I mean, looking at this, it's really discouraging with this stormwater. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. All right, in terms of the fiscal year 24 budget, then, any other comments or questions, discussion specifically on this budget? Guess we can look for a motion then if to pass it if we'd like to. I don't believe we did, but let's I'm sorry? You talking about the 24 one?
It does.
Which line are we looking at?
That was kind of my hint to revisit. The 240, almost 241,000.
Oh, okay, I see.
Under the
Line
That
item.
was my point to pass it.
Using 23 and
Right.
24 money.
Understanding that the RFPs for construction are already out, is it an issue? For that project?
The RFP's been issued, but that line, just like a other line, just says construction. It doesn't mean it's the notes that say we were contemplating that.
But if we have an RFP, in,
We haven't, right.
are we
Got
doing it? I don't know.
It says, the 2023 cost for Tanglewood with cost sharing from HOH to be
Mhm.
determined, but we were planning on the state money. From
Correct.
that 240, right?
Right. Passing this budget does not mean that project is going. It just means that we can
Well, there's a,
do other things.
there's an RFP out there. That's my.
So are you saying no, you don't want?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just
Okay.
saying like, that's the card where they're.
Yeah,
And
I mean, nothing's gonna happen until next week when we have there's a huge statewide stormwater education piece. And we can have a meeting set up with the state so that you all better understand why we would do something like this, and if there's not justification, that can be pushed aside.
I feel like we're all just worried and having a conversation.
Well, we already had this one other time.
Well, how can we get back to a point where we're moving forward in the direction we all understand? We gotta figure out what our goals are and what our time constraints look like.
So if we approve this tonight, it doesn't mean we're spending the money.
On Tanglewood, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Right, we're not doing that yet. We haven't, the bid is out to his point because
So Quiet Allen is committed.
that one is committed, but that's a design thing. That's not a construction.
Oh,
320,000 is just a design.
I think so. I don't think it was all in design and construction. I gotta look at that. Emily really led that and Dave's leading that one now.
There's no way it's 300,000 to design.
That's a,
Is it construction too? Design and construction?
Yeah.
Then it's all of it, but that one's committed.
so the firm that's running the
Yeah.
stormwater utility, they're doing the day to day. They meet
Correct.
with Dave regularly. He's still being brought up to speed. That's
Mhm.
the big thing. Is there any way that we could even have a special meeting one night, and if I'd love to volunteer for that, but and bring these people in and get. I don't want to review project plans every time, but we need to look at these. There's only a few of them out there. We have a funding opportunity we need to send a letter for. Jeff's making a point that we have an ordinance that says we have 4 specific goals and we can't explain how a project meets them to ourselves. We just
I mean, I
need to
think
get-
I can, but I don't want to get into I think
No.
2 of those those measures, we are meeting with Tanglewood,
Right.
but we're not gonna debate it here.
No, not now, but I'm
No.
saying maybe at some point in the near future.
Yep,
not
that's
debate
fine.
it, But talk about it.
Mhm.
We also need to come up with our funding formula and figure out how we want to apply it.
So like the information under description, that's not like a legal thing, that's
Correct.
just giving information. So we're essentially, if we pass this budget as presented, it's that final amount, was it the 313,990 that we're?
Yeah,
looking
I mean,
to-
And to be clear, it's not like this budget, we have to use it largely exactly how we're representing it. So that construction line, we probably will use some of that construction line as our match for Clyde Allen Drive.
Mhm.
I think the match is like 70 or 90,000, so that's not in there, but we certainly can use it for construction this coming year.
Okay.
When do stormwater bills go out?
Anna and I were trying, I don't know if you. No, okay. Same fiscal year.
What are we just gonna do,
Separate bill.
direct
yeah.
mail?
Mhm.
I mean, somebody has to receive all that. They go down. So, Lisa and I am thinking. Red horses.
Okay.
So do you think it's a state meeting is it next week? Maybe somebody could ask them what the hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be helpful. Okay, I guess we're back to, someone wants to make a motion to pass this budget.
I did.
Did, sorry. Is there a second then? Maybe I missed it if there was. That's what I'm asking for.
Did you make a motion?
I did
When?
20 minutes ago.
Oh, really? Didn't hear it so far.
I didn't hear it either. I'm
I
sorry.
thought I heard what happened.
Make it again.
Brendan, did somebody second it?
No.
Okay,
Nobody did.
You're looking at us.
so we have, I'm looking at anybody.
Only hand.
We have a motion out to accept this budget as with the numbers that we've got here.
Well, I'll second it just to get it the hell out of the way. You got other stuff to do.
Thank you, Jack. Any more discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Any opposed?
I am opposed.
I'm opposed also.
You gotta vote.
Had to do that to me, didn't you? I'm gonna vote yes right now. And then we'll come back. I
To
like.
be clear, my original motion had context of, this is a planning document and we are revisiting it. And
Yep.
it's not a license to do with anything in particular other than pay our bills. for the time being.
And same with the description, it was for information.
This is not an adoption of a plan, it's we don't have
Set it.
another meeting between now and July 1st, and we need to be set up to be able to process the warrant at our next meeting.
Mhm.
That's, I want to operate a division of the government without the budget, that's for the federal.
So.
Great. You can hold up anything in a warrant if you so choose.
All right, is that the end of our manager's portion?
Mhm. Yeah, so you do want to meet with the other department from the state, right? So should we should we
Yeah, I think-
schedule something in early July, perhaps?
That would probably make sense.
I
Yeah,
think
we've got
that
the
the
meeting next
message
week.
that needs to be sent to the state is if they're gonna partner with us, they need to explain to us what we're doing, or I would work towards getting rid of it. Either they come in alongside of us and make this happen, and they step up to the plate, or we got 10 years. And for most of us, 10 years from now, it'll be someone else's problem. So either they got all kinds of money down there. And I understand the utility was formed to be equitable. It's not equitable. And it's not the design of the utility, the whole concept of what they're doing just doesn't sit well, and they should come in and make it sit well. If they can make it sit well, I'm 100% on board. Huh?
I think that's what they're doing with this new round of funding. Just reading the language of it and the overall timeline, could be wrong on that, but just reading the language and the press release, I do think.
Well, good, then that's what they need to do, but if they don't do it,
Yeah.
then the citizens of St. Albans should stop paying them to demolish it.
So will the late afternoon meeting work if we're trying to schedule something?
Anytime.
Well, do we want to hear what the outcome
Yeah,
of
let's,
the
let's wait.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah,
If it's not, if anything is
Person's
built.
busy, I don't think it's-
Well, let's get,
We still got a lot.
let's get through that Q&A. And if anything, I don't want, if anything, if Dave feels that he doesn't need EIB reps to be able to answer questions about these specific projects or to talk about a funding policy for the utility, then you don't need anybody but Dave, but we need to talk about coming up with a funding formula and how we're gonna apply it. And we need to adopt it, and then we need to operate the budget under that new policy. And that's gotta be done within the next month or two. And I don't know how personally, I don't know how I feel about the fact that there's an RFP out for a project that up until Sean, unless Sean comes back and says, I've got a blank check. Or I've got word that if I send a letter, I will have a check, then we need to pump the brakes on that. And I don't, I'm a developer by trade. I write a lot of quotes, I spend a lot of time in plans, and I write a lot of bids. Jonathan does too. We know it's part of the deal, but I've nothing more frustrating than to quote something for somebody who's not serious about doing it. And I don't know if we're 100% serious right now. Out of respect to the people that might bid on it, find out we're not doing it, we might come back out in a month or two, they may be turned off. We should consider what to do with that RFP.
Why did you vote yes on that then? Why did you go vote yes? Because you're telling us telling the world, all of the things that you don't know, that you're not sure of, but you passed the budget.
Well, I'm just gonna say, Paul, I voted yes because we do it right now. We have this utility in place.
You don't have anything in place. You've got three members that.
We have-
do not understand what you're doing.
Yep, I understand. I mean, just answer your,
Well, I understand.
I don't need to answer your question, but I'm going to. Yep.
Or do you vote?
I'm not-
You gotta do it within a certain amount of time.
I'm- It's not that I don't understand it, it's that there have been a lot of general terms thrown around, 50, 25, 25,
Yep.
50, 40, 10. You know, we need to codify what we're doing. We need to apply it equally in every situation. And that needs to be done before we spend this money. But that doesn't mean that we should delay sending the bills out and collecting the money that we know we're gonna need as soon as this policy is adopted. And that doesn't mean that, just like tonight, every dollar of this money that comes through this budget that we just approved essentially as a loose planning document won't come through this board in the form of a check warrant that we can either scrutinize or deny.
Don't you have projects in this budget?
No.
Because you mentioned one specific.
Well, all it has in it, Paul, as I'm looking at it, is there's a line item. This is the largest line item. It's roughly 241,000 for construction. To the right, there's a description as to, and I clarified that is extraneous information that's nice to have, but it's not tying us into Tanglewood or other
So
pieces.
you have not passed an allocation of funds to any particular project.
No.
After the budget.
And that's why I did it, Paul. You asked why I passed
Right,
it.
'cause
It's to,
nothing
me,
was
right now,
gonna
it's to
spend till
get a
we
budget
figure out what
so that
the
we can
heck.
continue.
Yes, but it just,
So
you got a little leverage right there.
So technically,
Give it up.
Not really.
I don't know that that's true. I think that, I'm not saying it would happen, but I think Carrie's got the authority to spend that
I'm
money.
just.
We just gave it to her.
How, if we're not approving the check?
You made a
can't
motion,
cut.
passed.
I don't
You
think
can't
she
cut,
needs to ask.
okay,
the
so
select board
if I make
to
a
spend that.
motion to adopt a general fund
I could be
budget, and
wrong,
it's got
but-
$15,000 in miscellaneous expense for the public works director, that doesn't mean Dave can spend $15,000 on whatever he so chooses without talking to the manager of the board. We have a system of approval, not without us signing a check warrant, she can't. Nope. You can authorize a check, it'll get clawed back, that's the law. What's the point of having?
So to try to move forward,
Yeah, please.
what I would like to do is I would like someone to look into how a town does a revolving fund or how a town can use money that it has to help private citizens fund their solution to their problem. I don't know how easy that is. I don't know.
We actually had already talked.
We've
about
been
that.
talking about.
We've been talking about it, but do we have the steps
lay
that
it
are set
down?
up, boom, 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 boom?
I asked the town attorney to
It's
start.
underrated.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard to do?
So I'm not gonna go that far.
Because I would think that there'd be legal issues with
Yeah.
that.
No, that it could be done,
Okay.
just want
Yeah.
research.
So I would like us to look into seeing what the steps are to make that happen.
Mhm.
So that
And we've been
if we
talking
decide
about
we
it
want to do that, we
for
would
a
do.
couple months.
Mhm.
we've been talking
Correct.
about it.
But we,
Yeah, and back to where, again, just that, as Brendan brought up, I think everyone's brought it up, having a formula, if we go into a project, it's not. As Stan alluded to that some may have been 35 or 25, it should be set, right? I mean, it's,
well,
that's
that's
what it is.
And you gotta
'cause
figure out how you're gonna apply it.
I couldn't find that in here, that's,
If you're gonna turn around, if the state funds 80% of one project, are we gonna bank that and then make a different project work within the formula? Or is that the formula that every project has to meet or exceed in a certain way?
well, it's in some of that language is in here too, right? If you get
Yeah,
a
also-
grant, first it goes toward the town's portion. And
I
then
think you
toward
gotta
the-
talk about
so,
a private road program, Sean, and look into that. And I think that the algorithm that we use to determine everyone's cost sharing is way different on a road than it is in a stormwater system. I think a road should be 100% on a private entity or HOA, and that there's a little bit of public interest involved with a stormwater system in certain cases, and that's where we define we're not touching a project unless the state pays for half.
All right, let's, we'll wait, hear that Q and A.
Well, I just want to touch on this one thing. I think why these like failed stormwater ponds and stuff that the town was taking over is so it meets our MS4 permit, right? So we do have somewhat of an obligation. What that is, I don't know, but like a private road, I don't think we have an obligation, you know, to assist. That's just my 2 cents, but the whole reason I voted no on this because the state exempted ag. Like, if they don't want to be partners in something they handed down, like, I don't think we should put a burden on any of the taxpayers in the town. You know, and the governor can march down here and say the clean water, Lake Champlain, and all this stuff, but like, give us some help.
Then there ain't a lot of towns doing this. You can go all over the state, you talk about the stormwater utility, what the hell's that? Not everybody's in.
There's some reasons for that. Some towns don't have MS4 issues.
Yeah.
Some towns do.
Eventually they all will.
And a bunch of them are kicking it down the hallway.
The 2036.
Or later, because what are they gonna do?
My understanding is that at those, and this was outdated information from the planning commission meeting that Alan and I attended probably 5 or 6 years ago. And the information was that at that point, expired stormwater permits in the state would be considered title defects again. Right now, they're not considered title defects. If you go pull a state stormwater permit in Green Mountain Drive and there's one issued, but it's not active, it's pending, the fees haven't been paid in 10 years. And it's out of whack in the state system, a lawyer can totally overlook that and get title insurance under it. But understanding of, as far as I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that at those dates, this starts to change. And then it becomes a really big issue.
So is that, I'm ignorant about this. Is that the reason why the town fixes that, or is that the reason why the homeowner should?
Well, the
like
town's
fix it?
only involved because we've been told we have to be. This has been handed to us not by choice, like everything with
If
everything
it's
we
a town
do.
road,
Well, in any case,
not a
in any
private.
case, if it goes into the impaired watershed, of which we have 2, Rug and Stevens Brook. If it's hydraulically connected to that, it's tied into our MS4, whether it's on a private or public road. And we have an obligation that's handed down to us by the state with no funding whatsoever, other than whatever we charge them through the utility for their impervious surface plus 25,000 a year. And any grant we're lucky to probably not get, even though we applied for it 3 times. So we're on the right track. I think for now, we should agree to move on and come back to it. Let Sean and Dave and our team go represent us well, deliver the message with some nuance and see what he comes back. Hopefully he come back with a blank check and thing will get done.
It's as clear as stormwater.
Oh.
There's mud.
Well, it's pretty big coming off.
Well, stormwater.
Do you have something quickly, Al? Yep.
I will stun there on things that if we don't comply with the scores, then we can step in and find. So the drive for participating is to comply with the federal law, is to devolve to the state, and then the state to us. But I'm not so sure that the state does not fulfill the obligation to understand that we're all the hope because the state, I think the issue is staying in the way. You wouldn't have the ultimate down responsibility. And that's why we have to work with our citizens to make sure that we are by 2036 together in compliance and also protect the land. If you don't protect the land, you also will have other.
Think so. Think we'll move on to that. Yeah.
That horse is flopping around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, this tough, complex issue. I mean, I'm kind of under the same impression of what Al just said, that it wasn't a matter of if you got to do it, it's how do you do it? You do it with stormwater utility or at a general fund. Stormwater utility seems to be a little bit more equitable. Obviously, they changed the formula on us here with some ag properties, but
Brian,
it's
wait,
tough.
it's worth adding a little bit more context. I won't be quiet for this. And
Kick that horse one more time.
Yeah, I'm going to. When Stan got off and Bruce Cheeseman was chair, I specifically remember us having a conversation about this that resulted with Donald Trump just got elected president. He was sworn in a couple of months ago. It's his EPA. Scott Perry leading the governor of oil country.
Texas.
So let's see what happens. And we pumped the brakes. If I recall, pretty strenuously for a while, a couple of years. We didn't make much progress. And even under the most conservative administration we'll probably see in our lifetime. Nothing changed. So. Now we've got a Democratic administration in, and Jeff, you deal with it more than anybody, with water with the United States rule. Everything's getting more complicated, jurisdictions are expanding, things are getting more expensive every year. And the crap runs downhill, we're at the bottom of
We're
it,
at the bottom of the hill.
literally and figuratively. So we gotta do something. Just have to do it in a way that we can all agree on is fair.
Perfect. Carrie,
I'm done with my report.
we have our,
Thanks.
next two meetings are July 3rd and July 17th, both regular meetings at 6:30. Could add a special meeting if that made sense on the stormwater stuff. We also have. Just lost that here. Just a reminder again, Bay Day, the Great Race, Sunday, July 2nd. Hopefully we'll have great weather. I haven't checked it. And they'll have, well, what do you think? Hopefully it will be. Hopefully it'll be great weather. Yeah, so definitely come down to that.
Jonathan and I were giggling, we thought you three were putting in the great race team for the town.
I
think
was
I'm-
on the first one.
Jack's
Are you?
doing, Brian's running, Jeff Blakey.
If you get it together, I'll run, but
I'm driving
Let's
in
be-
the car.
be slow. Just, and then on the chair's report, I didn't have a whole lot of things I wanted to touch on, but I did want to ask Jack too, because he made it down to the Touch a Truck event and just want to mention about that.
Before it really
Great
started,
pictures.
because I had another thing going on the same day, and I took some pictures, but I never got back to see how did it go.
It's good. I went to it.
You did?
Jonathan went to it.
Didn't?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was well attended. and
Yeah, it was
kids
good.
loved it, And our DPW stuff was getting into vehicles and some of the lights and how wipers were on. It
Yeah.
was great.
I wish they turned the car horns off. That's what I had.
What's that?
I wish they turned the truck horns off.
Oh, yeah,
All the
we were,
kids were like,
we were talking
"Just
about
scaring
that
us all." Yeah.
before the people got there.
That was fun.
So it's something, I mean, it sounds like something that we should continue doing though. I think it's, I think our first one.
I know Fairfax had one going on at the same time,
Did that
same
turn?
day. And, I guess there was a car show down the road.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Just, and again, I've heard from a lot of people too about the farmer's market, especially with the music. They like that combination of things. And I think we had four bands that we gave back to the last one. Just a quick mention too, we talked at the last meeting about applying for that grant, like under the gun in terms of time for the V-Trans bicycle and pedestrian grant application. Just through email, I didn't do much, but Megan Sherlin's the majority of it, and Carrie was right there too, we got that done. She had to communicate and write the application, communicate with the city, communicate with but whatever that group was that was helping as well. So just I guess I don't like that word kudos, but kudos to
She's
making
actually
sure.
hearing.
Oh, she is.
Rumors that we might actually get it.
Oh.
I don't know
That's
where she
great.
heard that from. But let's
That's
hope.
great.
Yeah.
But if I could have your attention, just one more moment here before we finish up. And of course, very excited. Sean's gonna start, next time we come here, Sean will be the official town manager. And just wanted to take a quick moment just to thank Carrie as well, because it's been, is it not 9 years, right? I keep asking that. 11 years. Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, and obviously you've been the only town manager since I've been on, and yes, best town manager I've ever been with, so. that's awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Carrie, and then there may be more for you as well, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Is there any more on sale?
Yeah, I think we're mentioning that soon, I think, so not sure what I can say here, but we haven't stopped with that process. We've continued with it, and I can just tell you that Sean's kind of taken over and added some things with it with his experience too, so. Otherwise, I think we're looking for the long motion here, if anyone wants to read that, or I can if otherwise.
It's just, oh, we
Let
got.
me go. I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss a contractual and personnel matter where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town or person involved at substantial disadvantage. It is further moved to enter into executive session to discuss a contractual and personnel matter under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes and to invite Sean Atkins, Kerry Johnson, Bob Cross, and Al Vogel to the meeting.
Thank you. Any second?
Yeah. I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you.